I'll just tell you, it involves a little meditation, a little pooping, a little coffee drinking. Not necessarily in that order. Did the Lion Cross today, Lionheart Cross, first race of the 2023 season. It was not without incident. Yeah. So I'll give you the brief synopsis. Everything's fine. It went fine. It was fun. I had a great time. Yeah, it was hot today. Really hot. So I changed a bunch of stuff with my training this year. Yeah, due to the injuries I had from last year. Kind of the first test of whether what I did was good or bad. It's too early to tell. Yeah, I don't know, whatever. So I got caught behind a crash in the first corner, which set me back quite a ways, and then crashed by myself later on. Almost crashed a lot. It wasn't muddy. It was dusty and off camber, and yeah, it was very tight, very short laps. I think we did 10 laps, 11 laps, something like that. I don't even know. It was a lot of fun. Those Lionheart kids, they put on a good cross race. I sure do. All right, I'll get more updates at some other point.
I'm making my sandwiches.
All right, Road2Mudders, Penguin fans. Sorry, it's been a while. I haven't had much motivation. I haven't had much motivation to do videos over the summer. But I'm headed to the first OVCX race, Carter Park. Originally, why I started this was to document trying to do a specific training program that was designed for the road for a cross. Yeah, so you've seen all the videos for that, hopefully. If not, go watch them. And this year, as I alluded to earlier, I had to change some things as far as my training. And so I'll report about that eventually. But the big thing I wanted to get as I'm going to the race this morning, and I think what I'm going to try. What's hilarious is I have the directions on because eventually I'm going to need them. We're driving like in my neighborhood right now. I know how to get where I'm going. Whatever.
Continue on Columbus Road for 1 mile.
So, I think what I'm going to try to do this year with my videos is get a little bit more, less of me talking, more footage of the actual race. Number two, I think I am going to center it more on debriefing in my own process. And so, where went right? What are some areas for improvement, and what is the plan going forward? And so I did 2 things last weekend that I don't know whether they were quote unquote right. I do think that they may have had an impact. So yeah, I got it. So hopefully she'll be quiet because I'm going to be on this for like 60 miles.
Continue on US 33 West for 60.
And those of you that are watching, I know I can turn this feature off, but then I have to turn it on because eventually I will. The lady talking. So debriefing from Lionheart Cross. I did one thing or two things that I think were really smart that I think helped, and I'm doing one of them right now, which it is 7:30 in the morning, something like that, and I don't race until 2:30. So I am getting to the race, went to sleep early for me. Last week I actually like forewent sleep, like an hour or two, just so I could get up to the race venue before the actual races started for the day. And the idea, or what I did last week, which I'm going to do again this week, is I did all my pre-riding essentially before the first race. And so I was able to get 3 good laps, continuous laps, and before I even picked up my number. And I think there was a couple advantages to this. Is I have always felt like I don't figure out a course until like the last 3 laps. And largely, it's not that I don't pre-ride normally, but my memory is just not that good for a lot of turns and things. It's almost like I'm going into a corner and being like, oh yeah, this is the line I need to take in this corner. And so I'm trying to get better at like remembering the courses. So I think that's one thing. The other thing is when I was going through the course, I was thinking about 3 critical things. Where can I lay down power for my strengths? Where is a place that there's a speed limit, which would be a good place to recover? And where are going to be the critical points? But what I mean by that on the course is like, where is there going to be pinches? Where are there going to be places that, you know, there's going to be something that critically could happen during the race. So obviously, like the first corner, right? Like that could be a critical point depending on the races. Last week it definitely was, because we went like 300 meters and then went into a single file corner, which was, I love the course, but that corner, for the first corner, it was stupid. So that was something I did really well, is do the pre-ride, think of it in those terms. And the other thing I did during that pre-ride is, on stretches where I thought that would be good for me as far as trying to put down power and move up, I took, each time I did a lap, I took a different line. So I wanted to see, like there's a lot of off-camber, and so could I ride the high line on the off-camber, could I ride the middle line on the off-camber, and could I ride the slow line on the off-camber? Also trying to determine which one I would like to ride, but the idea being is that those first couple of laps, you know, if it starts bad, which it was, where can I potentially like get out of the preferred line and still make up some stuff? So anyways, I felt pretty good about that, so much so that I'm going to try it again this week. The other thing I did, which was unique to last week, is it was blazing hot. And I knew it was going to be blazing hot because I can read a forecast. And so I really started hydrating like 2-3 days out. And I did the same thing this week, even though it's not going to be as hot. But on the day of, because I went and pre-rode before, I was done with my pre-riding by 11. We don't race till 2:30. So I essentially sat in my car all day with the air conditioner on and drank ice water. And so I felt like I dealt with the heat really well, because I tried to keep my core really, really down, the temperature really, really down, and keep super, super hydrated. And so I think that helped. So what did I do that needed improvement? Okay, so the first one was I totally misread the start. I didn't think about where I wanted to be on the line for what would happen at the start. I lined up essentially, because they're doing Pro 1-2 and 40 plus together, which is a whole nother issue of why I understand it might be good for points, I understand it might be good for schedule, but there's a reason as a 45-year-old guy, I don't want to be racing with 20-year-olds. We have different motivations for why we're there. We have a different understanding based on life experience about physics. And I'm not, you know, us in the 40 plus, most of us have to go to work in the morning. So yeah, there's just a little different in temperament and how we take those first corners. But anyways, I lined up behind a junior, or I don't know if he's a junior, but a pro one too. Mainly because I was thinking this kid's probably going to be fast off the line, which he was. But going into the first corner, like I remember during the warm-up thinking, this is a corner that's one wide, and like we went into it 3 wide. But I should have known that it was going to pinch on the side that I lined up on. That's where I made the mistake. Is you can't, you know, sometimes you don't have a choice. You just got to slot in wherever there's positions left. But I actually had a choice, and I lined up on the left side, then actually moved over to the right side. And in retrospect, the left side opened up, the right side got closed down. Part of that's just luck, but I didn't even think about. I need to think about that a little bit this week. What side would be my preferred side, and more what are going to be how am I going to deal with that first pinch point in that start. And the other mistake I think I made is I did crash, and that was I'm not exactly sure why I crashed. I mean, I went around a corner. I think what happened was I got on the gas too soon and just kind of lost the rear wheel. Didn't have real good traction there. It was a weird sort of turn that you kind of turned into an off camber, and it was very loose. I don't think it was a tire pressure issue, but I'm quite frankly not really sure, because I'm not sure in those sort of conditions whether you're supposed to be running higher or lower pressure. So I need to look into that. That corner, almost every single time I got out. What happened was I got a little overzealous that one lap. I was coming up on somebody. I thought I was going to catch him that lap, and I just pushed a little bit too much. So I just need to remember that there is a speed limit. I mean, I guess most courses at some place they have speed limits, so I just need to be cognizant of that. I got something in my eye though. Hopefully that'll work its way out. Just got done with Carter Park. Look at that. Bronze medal. 3rd place, 40 plus. I'm getting ready to get some McDonald's. If I think of any epiphanies from today's race, I'm going to try to do my debrief. I'm tired. So, last week I listened to, on Books on Tape, Phil Jackson's Sacred Hymns. Not a bad book. He was talking about how, I think it had to do with mindfulness or Zen or something or whatever, but about how when you're able to let go of all the chatter, your mind allows your body the opportunity to do what it wants to do, or what you've trained it to do, essentially. And so on the way to the race today, I did think about that I'm going out there to have a good time. I've trained for a couple of months to try to go fast in these situations. So there's so many variables I can't control, like the course, competitors, start position. I can't control any of that. What happens the first lap? All I can do is take that stuff as it comes, and then just let my body and do what it can do. And that's what I did today. What went right, what went wrong, and what would I do differently? I got there early again. I pre-rode, and I really broke down the course this way. I had to get through the start BS, like this extra part of the course that they added, with as minimal incident as possible. So I can't do anything about it. I can't plan for it. I can't overly worry about it. I thought about what side I'd prefer to line up on, knowing that I might not have a lot of choice, and then just planned, if I was on this side, what would I do? Best case scenario, worst case scenario, like kind of like that at this one pinch point. But then the other thing I thought about, though, in this course, and the way I broke it down, which I think was smart, is that there's kind of undulating longer hill on the backside. And I just decided that I was going all in on that hill every single lap, and then just trying to recover on the real technical stuff. Because on the technical stuff in the woods, you didn't have to pedal that much. I mean, there was a speed limit, and the speed limit was what you could, freeze coast through there. And it was more just a matter of understanding which corners you could rail more versus which ones you kind of still had to observe a little bit of speed limit. So I think that was good. Is that kind of confirms what I thought before about what I said before the race, is that I was looking forward as far as where could I put in power, where could I recover, what are the critical points, and what am I going to do about that. The other thing is, I think this is a positive, is that I just kept fighting. The last 3 or 4 laps, I was battling with this dude who, he's a really good racer. So, I was just just sticking to my plan, just not even thinking this dude's on me. If it comes down to a sprint, he wants to beat me in a sprint, then he's going to be able to beat me in a sprint, or he's not. I can't do anything, but I'm not going to sit up, and I'm not going to play games. On the last lap, every place I could that I thought I could get a little distance, I just did that and tried to string a bunch of areas together, and I had it. I had a gap. Going into the last hill, I was like, all right, I gotta hit it hard through this hill. I hit it hard on the hill, and I looked back, and he was not on, but he was way closer than I thought. I just was like, all right, I gotta keep it on where I am. I mean, I did the right thing. So I was like, I gotta keep it on where I am, and then, but also gotta really make sure that I make it difficult for him to try to get around me, because you went into barriers, you remounted, went through a little escort, and then the finish line was 100 meters. So I just kept him behind me and just kept trying to punch it any little area I could. And we're talking like 400 meters, or that's probably wrong. Maybe a kilometer at this point. But we're pretty close to the finish. It's just a lot of turns, and there's one little shorter punchy area. And then I stayed in front of him in the barriers and remounted before him, and I jumped at the end, and he had given up the ghost at that point. And so it was a good fight. It was a good, not a good fight, a good battle. And so I stayed on it, and I always feel good when I do that rather than give up. What would I do differently? Probably not run my mouth as much. I still have a tendency to run my mouth a little bit too much. This dude, when Tim crashed, Mike was in front of me. I said, hey, are you going to be able to sew that up? That probably didn't need to be said. He knows what he's doing. He was on a single speed. So I think that was a legitimate question. My front skewer was loose when I got done. I don't like that. So I guess I need to work on that. I would say today was a success. I could have done better. Could have done worse.